Oh, hi there. I didn't expect to see you so soon. Of course I did, really. That was a terrible intro, wasn't it? Incredibly cheesy. Hello there, folks. It's 2D6 Friday, and I'm taking a little bit of a risk tonight. Feeling a little bit crazy, so I've decided to have the window wide open. And as you may have heard me reveal on a previous week, I do live in the most deprived area in Britain, according to a survey. So it's entirely possible that some of my neighbours could get into some kind of heated verbal exchange that's incredibly audible through the window and into the microphone, which is perched right here in front of me. So keep your ears peeled for that. Now, I feel I should start this week by weaving a little tale for everybody, first of all. So, yesterday, I was sleeping during the day, as I occasionally do, and I missed the postman. So there was one of those lovely little notes sticking through the door saying, well, I'm afraid we missed you, so you'll have to come and collect your parcel or arrange a redelivery. So I thought, you know what? It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. That was the time it had written on it. So I thought, if they're doing the post at around 2:30 in the afternoon, that means tomorrow morning I could just go and collect it, because it's not a very long walk. So I went for a friendly stroll, collected my parcel, and I'll tell you what it was in a minute. And then when I got back at about 11 a.m., that is 11 of the a.m. in the morning, that 11, I'd missed another parcel. What kind of consistency is that from Royal Mail? How can they expect people to predict when the post is supposed to be there if they change it so drastically over the course of one day? So the parcel I got, I'll show you what was in it now. Check it out. It's a unicorn, Reaper Bones unicorn. It was my parcel from Bad Squiddo Games. And also in there, I got some of these. Now, this is going to rhyme, so brace yourself for some lyrical magic. But these are some crystals from Ristall's Extraordinary Market, which are available through Bad Squiddo Games. Also, in that little package, as well as those two items, there was something else in there as well. A lemon and ginger tea bag. It's almost like it was chosen with me in mind and my fondness for the ginger flavour, which is quite appropriate with my love for all things orange. So that's quite tasty. In fact, I think I'll have another slurp right now on camera. Let's see who we've got in the audience tonight, shall we? If anyone's taken time out from wandering the streets catching Pokemon this evening, let's see. Well, we've got a few people in there. We've got Dreddy. I'm surprised she's not out catching Pokemon. Grave Danger, Mickey Genver, Retropia TV, Skeleton Flower. A few regular faces in there. Let's see what everyone's talking about, shall we? People talking about things kept in my drawers. And the Squigfoot, which of course is the legend, far more well-known than Bigfoot and the Sasquatch put together. Yes, Skeleton Flower, this unicorn is Cecil's ultimate form. The Cecil you saw previously, Cecil the Magical Unicorn, that wasn't his final form. This is. Look at him, all reared up there. He's not ready to skewer because Cecil isn't a beast of violence. He is a beast of healing, and his horn is going to spew forth rejuvenating juices onto the lands as soon as I get him painted up. So, oh, there's MC1 Gamer as well, who thinks that Cecil is evil and doesn't think we should trust him. I think that's a bit harsh. I don't see anything untrustworthy in this little face. How could you not trust someone with such a magnificent horn? So, let's go on to our first topic of the evening, shall we? After this. So, here's something. I'm not going to show you this because it's a very boring page with just a lot of text. But Adeptus Titanicus is apparently on the immediate horizon, which is something very exciting for the likes of me, considering Epic Titan Legions was my first game ever in the realm of miniatures. Now, as far as I'm aware, Adeptus Titanicus was the name of the original. It wasn't really called Epic back then, as far as I know. Then there was Epic Space Marine, then there was Epic Titan Legions. I believe that's correct. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. Mickey Jennifer thinks I'm just a floating head and 2 white arms. Now, come on. This t-shirt isn't nearly as orange as this background. I think you're just being very silly over there, aren't you? So, to weave another little tale for you, when I was but a small boy and I was first exposed to miniatures and space marines and little metal archers and people that built land speeders out of deodorant bottles and shower gel, which was, of course, what everyone did back in the day, in the good old days. When I decided I wanted to get into miniatures, the first game that caught my eye was Epic. Because how can you get cooler than a Titan that is about over 100 times taller than a man, allegedly? I don't know if the model actually was 100 times taller than the little tiny Space Marines, but it was pretty damn close if it wasn't. So I had that Imperator Titan, of course, and in there you got a lot of Imperial Knights and a couple of Orc Gargants and some little Orc tanks as well. And my one regret from that, well, I have a few regrets actually, but we'll go into those. My main regret right now, actually my main regret is probably getting rid of it, because I should have kept it all these years. It would have been worth a fortune now. But anyway, also I never actually painted any of the Titans because I hadn't painted anything before and I didn't want to ruin them. So my father actually painted the Titan and one of the Orc Gargants to quite an amateurish standard, but better than I would have done back then. Because I would have been at the stage of, if I was painting a 28mm Space Marine, it would have just been a big splodge of paint on his face, and then the eyes would have been huge. You know, you've seen that Thin Your Paints video with the rah! Everyone knows that. So that would have been my level of painting. I did paint a couple of the little Orc tanks, but I've never painted a Titan since I skipped Epic 40,000. So I would very much like to paint a Titan. Now, I wonder how big they're going to be in this game. It's going to be interesting. It says here that it's going to be 8mm. And apparently, they'll be able to release all the Titans in 28mm if they wish, because of the computer program they're designing it on. They'll just be able to scale it up quite easily, which would be interesting to have a full scale, well, not full scale, 28mm scale Titan for 40k games. That would be very interesting if you could actually fit an Imperator Titan in your gaming room. I probably could. I think its foot would probably fill half the board though. And apparently it's going to start off with only Titans, which is going to be interesting. So really, it seems like if that is true, then it'll be very similar to the other games they've released recently, where it's just like a flyer versus a flyer, where it's got its own kind of sub-rules for a very small amount of models. And then maybe later it says they'll bring in other vehicles and infantry as well, but not for a while, apparently. I can see why they would possibly do that. Kind of drip feed it to you bit by bit. And you have to start with the Titans, really, if you're going to call it Adeptus Titanicus. Apparently it's in 30k as well, rather than 40k. If anyone could tell me whether there's any difference in how the Titans look in each of those periods, that would be very much appreciated. Were any Titans built between 30k and 40k timelines? Was Epic 40,000 the 40,000 equivalent of Titan Legions being 30k, or were they both 40k? If anyone knows that, let me know. Let's see what else it's got here. Apparently they may do a 28mm scale Titan battle at the next Horus Heresy Weekender. That probably costs about £1,000 per day to enter, so I'm not too sure about that. And let's see, well, there's some notes here. They're digging into all previous Epic games for inspiration, but it will be a new rule set. Well, that'll be interesting then, because I don't care if they completely ditch all the old Epic rules, since I never actually played any of them. Even though I owned Epic Titan Legions, I never actually played the game, because my friends were more interested in 40k, and Epic was a little bit too complicated. Those huge charts for the Titans, and it was a little bit daunting for people. Even though we played 40k completely wrong for the first 5 years, probably. So I think we probably would have had just as much success with Epic. Let's see what else we've got here. Harpoons will be back. Well, that doesn't really mean much to me. Let's see. Maneuverability is key. The heavier the Titan, the slower they are. Well, it could end up like a bigger scale version of Battletech, I suppose, at the start, until they bring in the infantry. Although I suppose that does have infantry as well. So that'll be interesting. Machine spirit personality will play a role. Now, to the best of my knowledge, that's when the pilot basically says, you know what, I want to do a bit of this. Put my feet up for a minute and let the machine spirit just take over. So, and then the machine starts piloting and driving along, shooting people. So I'm not sure how that works. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So I find that very, very exciting, because I did say when they announced, or I don't know if they officially announced it or not, that they were going to be releasing a lot of the ye olde specialist games. The two I was most interested in seeing were Epic and Gorka Morka. No word on Gorka Morka yet, but that would be incredibly easy to do. They would barely have to release any new kits. Although, isn't that terrible old Orc truck still the default truck model for the Orcs right now? So maybe they could do with a new one. I think they're still using some of the really ancient models. I think the Orc bikes might still be based on that really ancient bit of bike as well. I'm not sure. But some of the vehicles are still very, very old. Some of the Space Marine Imperial Guard tanks are absolutely ancient, especially the Imperial Guard ones. Yeah, they could do with just a lot of vehicle updates, couldn't they, in 40k? So, and Blood Bowl, of course, is coming back, but I was never as into that as I was into Epic and Gorka Morka. Out of all of them, I played Gorka Morka the most. That was an awful lot of fun. My first game of it I actually won in Games Workshop store. It was about 5 people driving the trucks around, collecting the barrels. And if you didn't turn a corner by grabbing the truck and going, then you weren't allowed to actually turn. They made you do that. And if any things fell off, any of your Orcs fell off the truck, or any of the barrels fell off, then you did actually lose them. And the Orcs would actually take damage, which I think was in the rules. I'm sure some people would have just magnetized, though, if they wanted to cheat. You know what people are like, always trying to get an advantage. But anyway, I'd be very excited for that to come back. And Retropia TV, I would like to know if the muties from Gorka Morka ever got rescued by the AdMech. I wasn't a big fan of the other races in Gorka Morka, apart from the Rebel Grots, actually. I did like those. They were a lot of fun. Let's see. People talking about squats here. Wraith 13, bring back epic squats. That would be fun, actually. They did have a lot of cool stuff. They seem to get a lot more love in Epic than they did in 40k. Retropia TV squats in general would be amazing. Yes, they would. Although if they're completely written out of the fluff now and they just got eaten by a giant tyrannid or something. Although I suppose if it's 30k, would squats be around then? I'm going to assume they didn't get eaten until at least the 39th millennium or something. So maybe they could get in there. That would be nice. Because some of their epic stuff was quite amazing, wasn't it? I hope they have the Orc vehicle that was just a giant magnet on the back of a truck, which I believe was called the Orc Mech Boy Doom Diver Magna Cannon, something like that. That was always a pretty sweet model. And I remember that particularly because when I was but a wee lad, under my bed I used to cut out pictures of White Dwarf and stick them on the wall down there. And that had pride of place, that picture of that particular vehicle. So some of my ancient issues of White Dwarves have got big squares cut out of them. Possibly devaluing them, but I'm probably not going to sell them anyway. Because really, how can you sell a magazine collection? If you put them on eBay, the postage probably costs more than they would actually cost to buy. So probably not. Some of the issues are rarer than others, I'm sure. And a couple of them will be more valuable to certain people who are interested in particular articles that were in them. Now, let's have a look at something very, very juicy, shall we? something that just popped up today, in fact. Yes, Dreadball, the Futuristic Sports Game 2. The Kickstarter just launched, 16 days to go, so it's not an immensely long campaign. It's already beaten its goal, as you can see. I'll be interested to see how well this does, because the Dreadball community was vast at one time, and the Kickstarters did very, very well, and then the community kind of dried up a bit. Maybe there was just an overexposure of teams. There've got to be about 20 teams in Dreadball already, and they weren't particularly balanced, and it seemed to die out, the community. So it'll be interesting to see if this picks things back up again. So let's see what you get in the old pledge, which is $100. So it comes with a rule book, double-sided Dreadball Ultimate pitch. Okay, that's a good idea, actually. So on one side you've got the standard Dreadball pitch, and on the other side you've got Dreadball Ultimate. That's good. And I like how there's more space around the edge of the standard pitch now. I think there's a bit better close-up of that. And then the two teams, Robots and Indige. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, but I'm giving it a go. And of course there's Balls of Steel. Can't go anywhere without a nice set of balls, can you? Tokens, referee, and so on. It looks like these, some exclusives here. Some Dreadball coaches. I have got some coaches. I never actually used them, though. I would like to see them and the cheerleaders have more of a purpose in just general play, rather than just the campaign. So that'd be fun. Yeah, here we go. Better look at the board here. So yeah, it looks like they've just left a lot more space around the edge. Obviously, they can put Dreadball Ultimate on the back then. But more space for, I imagine, the cards and whatnot to rest. And the injury area looks a bit more clearly laid out now. And the hexes look a bit clearer as well. A bit easier to see what is what on the board, which will be nice. Now, does it have a deck of cards in it this time? It does have Dreadball Ultimate cards, but does the standard Dreadball have... Yes, it does have cards, but will they work in the same way? That's going to be interesting. Since Dead Zone did away with the cards, I thought maybe Dreadball would do the same thing, but it still has cards. I wonder how they're going to work now. If it's exactly the same, then I would wonder what they've actually done to warrant a second edition. I'll have to talk to someone from Mantic and find out exactly. Because I'm sure reading all this text would tell me some information, but that sounds like too much work for me. So, work in progress, Indige player sculpt. Yeah, they look pretty tasty, I suppose. I think they're already in Dead Zone, the Indige. Yeah, it just looks nice to me. The ball, of course, we looked at this last week, the ball that slots into the base now, which is mighty convenient, because back when I played Dreadball quite a bit, there were many an occasion when the ball would slide off the base, and especially if both players are getting a bit sweaty or you've got some greasy fingers, the last thing you want is a slippery ball. So the fact that it'll stay attached to the base via being inserted into this tiny little orifice, for me, that's a very good move. Very good indeed. So, well, there's the official contents. 52 cards. So yeah, it does sound like cards are going to be used quite heavily still. And balls, 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 balls of steel. I always wanted to say that. Well, I say that, but I have said it multiple times already. Balanced play. So apparently it's going to be balanced now by the Rules Committee. I think the Rules Committee may have had their work cut out for them last time when there were so many teams. And there's the Ultimate pitch. I know some people actually prefer Dreadball Ultimate. That looks a bit different from the previous Ultimate pitch. It might just be the colours that are throwing me off. If anyone can confirm whether that's different to the old Ultimate pitch, let me know. Let's see, Grave Danger, never played Dreadball. Well, for anyone that hasn't played it, it's just fast, and if you compare it to something like Blood Bowl, much faster. After you score a point, there's no reset period. like in Blood Bowl, you would spend ages setting up the perfect formation, and then over the course of the next 10 or 20 minutes, you'd move them all into position, and then someone scores a point and you have to rearrange and put them all back again. In Dreadball, once you score a point, the ball immediately pops out back onto the pitch again, and you have to play wherever your players were. So if you overcommit on the attack and leave all your players out of position, then you can be pretty screwed on the defense, as the Americans might say. I'm not a big fan of the big players in Dreadball. I don't know whether they horrifically affect the balance or anything. I just don't think they fit in particularly well. It's the coaches. Now, how much is the pack where you don't need the board or the teams or anything like that? Is that in there? Let's see. Can't find it. I imagine there will be a pack where you can just get the rule book and anything else new that you need. Some stretch goals here, including the, what's it called? Like the eye in the sky. Since that never used to have a miniature before, there was just the ref bot. The eye in the sky is the other referee. So you've always got one ref that has their eye on you. So there's always a chance that you'll be caught if you're cheating, which was bad for me because I played the monkeys, and the entire purpose of their existence is to cheat as much as possible. Let's see, I can't see it here. Optional add-on Dreadball Extreme. I'm going to assume Dreadball Extreme is remaining the same then. That's certainly how it looks to me. I've never actually played Dreadball Extreme, but I haven't heard too much about it, so I'm going to assume that it wasn't as popular as regular Dreadball, since I've barely heard anything about it. You can get the deluxe gaming mat, which I imagine is going to be the same kind of material as the Dead Zone mat, for an additional $30. And I would say that's probably worth it because that material is very, very sweet. Although it depends where you're playing. If you're playing on maybe a small table and you need the board to overhang the edges a tiny bit, then you wouldn't want a floppy mat, would you? You'd want something more firm and rigid rather than all that floppiness. Yeah, I can't see anything about just the basic add-on or the basic pledge for just getting a rule book yet. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that, because that's all I'm going to need, really. I'll need whatever's new. So rule book, maybe the cards if they're different, counters possibly if they're different, and some of the new balls perhaps, although none of my teams have the bases that would be compatible, so I may have to drill holes in them all, even though they're all nicely color-coded. So that might mess that up a little bit. Now, I think someone mentioned Guild Ball a minute ago. Yes, Mr. Samuel Barker says, I've seen Guild Ball being played and it always looked a bit slow. Retropia TV, I'm torn between Dreadball and Guild Ball. Well, I haven't played Guild Ball. People seem to like it, but it seems more of your typical miniatures game rather than a sports board game, which is what Dreadball and Blood Bowl clearly are. So I'd say it's not really competing in the traditional sense. I think these miniatures in Dreadball are all fully assembled when you get them as well. So the same way Dungeon Saga was, you can just play it straight out of the box, which obviously appeals to a certain market and gives it a slightly broader scope of audience there. So let's move on from that then, because I'm sure more information is going to trickle through over the coming couple of weeks, and I'll get in touch with one of my inside reputable sources at Mantic for some more juicy information on this. Now let's have a quick look at another Kickstarter here. Now I wouldn't normally mention something like this that's purely artistic rather than wargaming, but I do know the people involved in this Kickstarter project. And this is a giant bust, which the busts are quite big at the moment. Wow. But painting of busts seems to be quite big at the moment. No, that didn't sound any better at all. Busts are really on the up, shall we say. They're quite a big deal. They're becoming quite popular. People are enjoying painting these very large... Yeah, there's no way of saying this without it sounding funny, are there? So, I mean, look at the size of it. This one, this new one, next to your average That's a 38mm miniature, so that's bigger than Space Marines. This thing is huge. And there's the previous one, which is much smaller, which is that tiny thing there. Now, I remember the sculptor of this piece. I remember when he said he was taking sculpting classes, and the first piece I ever saw from him was just ridiculously good. So I think he just has sculpting in his DNA. If anyone in the comments paints busts or has a particular fondness for busts, then please say so now. But what's not to love about a giant, spiky toad beast smoking a cigar? Beastly. And also, there's the option of getting a special painted one, painted by award-winning painter Shoshi, who of course is world-renowned for her quality painting. So yeah, I'll drop links to all these things in the description at the end. But anyone who's into busts should look at that probably. So, what shall we get onto next? In fact, I think we're going to stay on the screen share right now. Let's have a look at what people are saying about the comments, first of all. Skeleton Flower, busts are not my thing. Well, I had heard that about you, Skeleton Flower. Retropia TV, my girlfriend is a bust collector for Lord of the Rings. We have quite the collection. Does she paint them, or are they the pre-painted busts? Let's see. What else have we got here? Some people talking about Dreadball still. Trosty99, powder those balls, no slipping from sweatiness. That is certainly an option. I am thinking that for certain board games, having a little, you know, like they do in weightlifting, they have that little tub of powder for the people to dab their hands in before they start lifting the weights. I think they have it in sumo as well, except they put it all over their bodies. Yeah, something like that right next to the board game table would be a good idea, I think, to stop the sweat and the grease and the orange Cheeto stains, which is always a nightmare. Anyone who's into tabletop gaming can tell you that. Grave Danger, talking about Dreadball. Sounds tactical. Used to play Blood Bowl a lot. Yes, Dreadball is very tactical. The thing with a grid, rather than measuring distances, the possibilities are slightly more finite. There's only certain places you can go, certain positions you can be in. You can't move like just a millimeter out of someone's range, for instance. So you could say it's like if the difference between chess and then chess but played in a field where you're measuring distances for all the pieces, if that makes sense. So there are more possibilities, but it's probably a little bit more element of randomness as well when you're not using a grid. I would say I think I've explained that well enough. E-Tron says Guild Ball is a very cool game also. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Everyone who plays it seems to say that it's very good. I've just not had time to get into that many game systems recently, so starting another new one might be a bit much for me. I'm just going to take a sip of this lemon and ginger tea, the free tea bag from Bad Squiddo Games, available with every order. So, let's look at a game of Dead Zone I played, shall we? The other day. I used my Plague for the first time, and I'd heard that Plague were absolutely beastly, and I was just going to kick 7 shades of butt cheek. Unfortunately, that didn't really happen. You'll see here that I've got a dog that's wounded as soon as it stepped out into the open. I think my problem is the Plague are really, really good in melee, but it was quite an open table. I don't have a huge amount of terrain. I'm going to get some more, but there was a lot of open spaces, so for me to get close to the enemy, I had to expose myself, really, and get shot. You could see I would hop up onto something to claim an objective, and then the person there would be immediately gunned down. It didn't help that all my powerful creatures, apart from this guy, but like this next level down from him, all 3 of them got killed in 1 hit, even though they have armor and multiple wounds and everything. So, yeah, that wasn't ideal. Talking about this guy here, as soon as he popped out to there, I think he got killed in 1 hit from just a basic gun, and the other 2 of them did as well. So that wasn't fun. But the actual game was fun, though. You can see this guy's wounded here. I was peeking through all the little crevices in the terrain and shooting at people, which is a fun part of Dead Zone, using the true line of sight, getting down there, getting a very cinematic look at the table. Ben B, what is that terrain from? This is official Dead Zone, what's it called? Battle Zone terrain, it's called. I've actually finished painting all mine now. You can see some of the pieces of black in this picture, but I have actually painted them all now. But it is really, really good terrain. It's like adult Lego. Like these barriers and everything, I've got those painted now as well. So it's going to look even better next time. And I'm soon to be getting some more as well to fill up the table even more. This big guy, though, this stage 1, he's an absolute monster. He was shot at in every turn multiple times, I think, and he never took any damage because he's got tons of armor and wounds, but he also has a rule where he just ignores the first point of damage as well. So he is an absolute beast. You can see that this platform is actually held up by crates there. It's probably not ideal. He could have fallen to his death quite easily. Here's the Forge Fathers I was playing against. Most of them were painted, but I had to take a picture of one that wasn't, obviously. Retropia TV, did you paint those, Andy? Love orange flesh. Yes, I did paint these, and if you want to know how I did it, then you can wait until the end of the month with my What I Painted This Month video, where I go into how I painted everything that I did over the previous month. But I'm going to give you a clue. It did involve airbrushing and glazing and dry brushing. They weren't difficult to do at all, and they were a lot of fun as well, so much so that I went rummaging in my bits box and found another Plague miniature with a grenade launcher, which I didn't know I had. I must have got it at a Mantic Open Day bargain bin and forgot about it. Along with about 1 billion Rebs as well. I've got a ton of Rebs, mainly Zs, but apparently you're not allowed to have a full Z Reb faction, which is unfortunate. Anyway, I got completely squashed into oblivion in this game. Hope you didn't hear that very loud noise outside. But yeah, this didn't go well at all. But the Kings of War game I had beforehand, there is a battle report of that up now, and that went a lot better than this. So there you go. And in fact, my opponent from that game, Mr. Samuel there in the chat, says karma for Kings of War. Yes, it may have been, because the Kings of War did go very well, and this game didn't go very well at all. So I think with the Plague, I need to keep them out of sight, especially these weaker ones that don't have armor. Out of sight, get them into combat. They're much better at hand-to-hand than they are at shooting. Because it's tempting to shoot with them, because they have guns, especially the ones that don't appear to have a close combat weapon in their hands. But looking at their stats, they are still better at hand-to-hand than they are at shooting, so I need to get them up there big time. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Dead Zone, though. It's a very, very easy game, especially now that they've changed the rules and got rid of the cards and just brought in the command dice instead, which are fun. I'm still waiting for my command dice to arrive, actually, and my rule book. I'm not sure whether that was the parcel that I missed or whether I missed the Age of Sigmar General's Handbook, in which case I would be getting that on Monday redelivered, so I would get in time for the next Andy and Rem show, so I can analyse it and then pour over it on that show, if that's the parcel that I missed, indeed, which it probably is. But yeah, a lot of fun. Now, let's stop the old screen share for a minute so people can see my wonderful visage, and then I'll have some more of this before it goes cold. Delicious. And you know what tastes even sweeter? The fact that it was just thrown in for free with my order from Bad Squiddo Games. Not sponsored at all, by the way. But anyone who throws in free delicious lemon and ginger tea bags can't be all bad. That's all I'm saying. And also stocking Reaper miniatures at a reasonable price is much better than buying them on eBay. Because even though they're not that expensive usually, the postage is what's going to kill you with them. Because most of the time they're coming from America. So getting them from a UK stockist who can order them in bulk is very, very preferable. Let's see. Mickey Genver, don't fall into the airbrush trap. Grave danger, not a fan, Mickey? Don't own one myself yet. Was considering taking the plunge. Yes, airbrushing is the way to go. I used to prime everything with cans, but quite frankly, that's awful, especially in this country. The weather, I believe, to spray a miniature in this country, you have to wait until the second Sunday of a month, it has to be a full moon. You have to do it at 10 p.m. The moon, not only does it have to be full, it also has to be in the 3rd house of Aquarius as well. Saturn has to be passing behind. You get the idea. You have to have very, very specific circumstances in order to in order to spray with cans in this country, unless you're doing it indoors with a gas mask, which isn't advisable. But you need to have perfect weather. And how often do we have perfect weather here? It's either scorching hot or freezing cold and thunderstorms. We don't tend to get any in between. And when I say scorching hot, by the country's standards, it's probably not that hot. But as far as spraying, too hot, probably. Airbrushing, you can just do it whenever you like. And as long as you open the window, and if you're doing a huge amount, you can get a mask. But I don't bother. And my lungs haven't collapsed yet. I'm sure with the colours I've been spraying, though, if they actually cut open my lungs, they would be kind of rainbow coloured, which would be fun. Let's see, Sebastian Blau. In the UK is humid, but there is also the basement, right? Well, I don't know how many people have basements. I certainly don't. Or a dry man cave. A dry man cave sounds like a condition that you would need ointment for. Grave danger. Let's see. So yes, I would recommend airbrushing big time. Not only for priming, though, I also use it for the base coat, which it applies much more easily than with a brush, especially metallics. Metallics are the main thing. When I'm painting, for example, Stormcast Eternals in gold, if you try to hand paint gold over any colour, it can be a bit of a nightmare because the brush is going to sweep it all away as you're brushing it on. So you need lots and lots of layers, and you need to, I think, probably over brown is the closest. But you could just go over white or black if you're airbrushing it, and it just goes on smooth. So yeah, definitely recommend an airbrush. You can get a really cheap one as well. The one I got was just a cheap Chinese one, and it's lasted for a couple of years now. I say lasted, but it has clogged a few times, but I'm sure any airbrush will clog, especially if you are very hesitant to fully clean it out, as I am. The compressor is the most expensive part, and I know a few people that have broken their compressors, so that's the bit that's going to trip you up price-wise, but mine wasn't that expensive again. Oh, going back to the drink. WasGob has joined the chat. Greetings, mortals. I would hope most people in here are mortal, yes. Although some people may not be. If you look at the painting abilities of one or two of the people in the chat here, I would question their mortality. They must have been around for longer than a human lifetime to develop those skills. I'm talking specifically about Mickey Genver and Skeleton Flower, if he's still in here. They are incredibly good at painting. Now, on the topic of Dead Zone again, there is a tournament coming up at the end of this month, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to attend because it's 200 points. I have 150 points-ish of Plague done. If I get the guy with the grenade launcher painted and I use another model as something else proxying, then I could probably squeeze it to about 175 points. So if I can find anything else to push it up to 200 or proxy some models in, I might attend. But it's touch and go right now, whether I'm going to be able to do that or not. Maybe I can borrow a couple of Plague off somebody just to get that first tournament under my belt, because I found that tournaments are probably the best way to learn the rules, because if you're just playing against the same people at home, then you're going to continue with your bad habits and you're not going to correct each other if you're both doing it wrong. When you go to a tournament for the first time and you start trying to do something and your opponent says, wait a minute, that's not how it works. This is how it works. That's how you learn, I found. Like with relics, my knowledge of the rules was kind of going this way until I went to a tournament. Then it just went into the stratosphere and I became the international relics champion that the world knows and loves. So tournaments, I would recommend them for any game system. So we'll see if I can attend that. So there's some Kings of War tournaments coming up as well soon. I'm going to take the Goblins to another one of those. I'm not going to be able to do Clash of Kings though, because wouldn't you know it, it clashes with football. And I did just get my season ticket in the post as well the other day. So that rules out about 50% of all gaming events from my calendar. Unable to attend because of football. Some things do have to come first. Some things more important than life and death, you see. And when you've been going to football for, let's see, I must have had a season ticket for about 24 or so years now, which is an obscenely long time, thinking about it. Let's see, people talking about each other's painting abilities now. Oh, Skeleton Flower is here. Retropia TV. Does anyone you know play Wild West Exodus? No. The only thing I know about it is that someone wears a cowboy hat. That's the extent of my knowledge. Is that the game that was in some way affiliated with the people that run Battlefoam? If it is, let me know, because in that case, the only thing I've heard about it is that people refuse to play it because they don't like the owners of Battlefoam. That's the only thing I've heard about it in that case. Because when I was at the two Adepticons I was at, there was kind of anti-Battlefoam propaganda being posted all around the convention halls, like stickers being put on the wall with very disparaging remarks about the owner. I think he maybe sued a company or something, and a lot of people didn't like that. So that's all I've really heard about that game. People refuse to play it because of the people involved in it. It could be a good game. Let's see. Retropia. Some people really hate Romeo from Battlefoam. Yeah, that's it, Romeo. I know a lot of people dislike him. I don't think I've actually met him, so I couldn't give my own opinion on his personality. I think I've seen him at a convention or two, but I've never really been that interested in any of their products because I already had my KR multi-cases. And Battlefoam seems to have a bit of a dodgy reputation as well. Some people love it, but then some people think that it scratches your miniatures, is what I heard. KR foam is much softer, apparently, which is what I use. Let's see. Sock. What? Well, I'm not going to read out that name because it's just too cheesy. Is there a possibility you can live stream a game of solitaire? No. That doesn't sound like fun at all. Let's see. E-Tron should get to a few city games this year. Good. That's what I like to hear. Of course, Manchester City are the #1 sports brand now, in my opinion. So for those of us that have been going to matches for 25 years, when we were absolutely awful, languishing in the lower reaches, then it's very nice that we're doing so well now. Of course, the Mantic head honcho, Mr. Ronnie Renton, is a big City fan as well. One of the notable wargaming supporters. Retropia TV, Minesweeper. Oh, that's a little bit more likely than Solitaire, because Minesweeper does have the entertainment factor of people just don't know how to play it. But no. Let's see. Trosty99 fears Latan. No. I think he's probably old and past it now. He's probably still got something to offer, but not too concerned. Okay, so let's go on to our next little topic here, shall we? It's not much of a topic, but it's a release that Mantic have made in the last few days that I wanted to look at a bit. Hard plastic movement trays for Kings of War. Now, you might think, well, what's so crazy about a plastic movement tray? But the thing with these is, when you turn them over, they're kind of textured on the other side. So you can stick the models straight down to them without any kind of texturing needed, which is a really good move, I think. The actual movement tray part of it, obviously, if you want to use your miniatures for multiple game systems, then that's what you want. And since GW aren't going to be pushing movement trays anymore, since all the models are now on round bases, then somebody's got to pick up the slack. A lot of people have been doing MDF bases, which is what I use for my goblins. I put them straight in there. But I think this is a nice move. And also, if they're textured underneath and you're just using them as trays, does that mean they're not going to be as slippery underneath? I'm going to imagine that is the case. Any kind of texture is going to stop the slipperiness, I suppose. And I've been to a few tournaments in the past where the terrain was a little bit, shall we say, greasy or angular, so that when you put a nice smooth movement tray on it, it immediately slides down. So yeah, not too exciting this, but I'm sure some people would be interested to hear about that. Another thing, Cheeks. This was the German version of Cheeks, which has been funding for the last few weeks, and it successfully reached its goal, as you can see there, 2,410 euros raised. So above the required goals, there's going to be an English and a German version of Cheeks now, and I've just been finalizing all the rules and everything in the last few days. So all that stuff is going to start going into overdrive now. Some more of the artwork has been done as well, so that's nice. And obviously I'm not going to read all this because it's in German, but you can see 124 people backed it. I think 149 people, was it, or something like that for the English version. So it's not too far off. So I wonder if they want to go for any other language versions as well. Germany is a really big tabletop game country, though, so you can understand that being the next most juicy market. Oh, we still haven't unlocked this hamster, unfortunately, though. That would have been a fun one. But yeah, that's done quite well. Let's see what people were saying about it in German, shall we? That's going to be exciting. Let's have a look. Let's find a nice translate with Google Translate. 100% financed. Excellent. I look forward to many funny hamster games. Don't we all? We certainly do indeed. So let's drop the old screen share here. Mickey Genver, Druddy can enjoy your cheeks with her friends now. Yes, she can enjoy my cheeks with her friends. My cheeks will be spread all around Germany. And I'm sure it's going to do very, very well. People the world over are big fans of hamsters. They're big fans of card games. Let's see. Mr. Sock says, Andy, do you 3D print your miniatures? No, I do not. I do not own a 3D printer. I'm not sure if I know anyone that owns a 3D printer, actually. Well, I must kind of know someone, but I don't know if I know anyone around here that owns one. Let's see. Trusty99. It helps my pint across the gaming table. I'm assuming he's talking about the movement trays there. Rafe13. Plastic movement trays, just what I've been looking for. Yes, I personally won't need any because I've got a zillion movement trays left over from my ancient Warhammer Fantasy days from back in around about 2001-ish, I think it was, when I got my hands on a big pile of movement trays. I did actually buy some more when I got back into the hobby a few years ago because I wanted really big movement trays for huge units of undead skeletons and zombies and whatnot. So when it comes to movement trays, I am well stocked. Definitely don't need any more. Probably never will. Unless anyone comes out with unit sizes that aren't compatible with any of the tray sizes that I have and can't be made up through multiples that I've already got, which would be unfortunate. And speaking of which, I think at some point Games Workshop should just come out with like a modified version of 8th edition as just a rule book, or even just a PDF. I think that would be a good move to appease the masses, maybe. Let's see. Well, someone's being very silly in the comments here. You know what? I'm going to drop the ban hammer on them right now. Block. What do you think of that, punk? Someone being very, very cheesy. The ban hammer was brought down. Okay, so let's see what else we've got. Oh yes, some other topics. I played a game of Hangout Dragon Strike this week. Dragon Strike being the board game that's somewhere between D&D and Hero Quest. I think it's slightly more complicated than Hero Quest, but there's also a larger role-playing element, which makes it a lot more fun. And also it comes with a hilarious VHS as well. So we watched that on YouTube together, the people I was playing it with. And I think we are going to film some games of Hangout Dragon Strike because it was quite hilarious. The role-play element does make it very, very funny. Because on the monster cards for the Dragon Master, it'll tell you how intelligent or how gullible the monsters are, and then the heroes can take advantage of that and start interacting with them, which would be a lot of fun, I think, for people to watch. So I'm going to video that. Probably not going to do it live because I may want to edit out parts where we're not sure of the rule or someone is thinking what to do next or we have to take a break or something. So I think we'll probably record it and then I'll upload it slightly edited to keep all the fun stuff in there, because it would be very long to do it live as well. But that's going to be a lot of fun for people to see, I think. Anyone who is hugely interested in that, then let me know right now. And that would either put a rush on it or maybe put it on the back burner if everyone says, no, that's a terrible idea. I'm going to unsub if you do that, mate. Let's see. Sebastian Blau, can someone explain cheesy? Well, cheesy means a lot of different things. I actually used the word cheesy to describe that person's actions because cheesy was part of his name. That was the only reason there. Wasgob has defined it pretty decently there. Cheesy, 1, like cheese in taste or smell or consistency, and 2, cheap and of low quality. Yes, so like a cheesy joke would be like a really, really kind of cringe-inducing joke because it's so bad and obvious, like a dad joke. Retropia TV is lactose intolerant, so he's glad that the cheese has been removed. So am I, actually. Even though I used to eat cheese every single day, I used to have an entire meal of cheese, just cheese cut into pieces and then put into my face, and I had to abandon that because it was making me ill. I don't think I've ever fully recovered. Physically, I've recovered, but not from the mental and emotional scars. Because cheese, it was my life. Grave Danger, have you played Dungeon Saga yet? Yes, I've played a couple of games. I do have it just over yonder. I haven't played much of it, though. That'd be another one that would be good for Hangouts, I think, because only the Necromancer has cards. So if I'm playing the Necromancer, the heroes wouldn't need to have access to any secret cards or anything. So I could easily do that over a Hangout as well. But that's not the same in the role-playing sense as Dragon Strike, and that's the reason I want to do that on video, because I think it's going to be really funny with the role-play element. Mickey Genva, I would die if I couldn't eat cheese. It is so good. Yes, that is true. Many people would die. I thought I was going to die when I couldn't eat cheese. There is lacto-free cheese, but it's not that good. The readily available stuff isn't. The cheddar is okay, but you can't get lacto-free Wensleydale or Cheshire or Lancashire, which would be the 3 that I would really want. They're all quite similar, those 3 cheeses, but to get those in lacto-free, they'd have to be ordered online or from some kind of specialist shop, which I haven't yet found. So that's very unfortunate. Dreddy missed the opportunity to ban someone. Yes, you did. I had to ban them myself because my loyal, faithful moderator was out of the room doing something, probably catching Pokemon. Mickey Genva, lacto-free is awful. Well, you say that, but lacto-free ice cream can actually be really, really good, depending what it's made of. Also, I've been eating the lacto-free yogurts, the mango flavor, and they're very, very nice, actually. Sebastian Blau, is Lancashire the slightly crumbly one? Yes, all those 3 cheeses, Lancashire, Cheshire, and Wensleydale, are all crumbly to varying degrees, but you can still cut them into slices. They're quite liable to break up, though, when you cut them. Wensleydale being the cheese made famous by Wallace and Gromit, of course, which is probably where I discovered it back in the day. Mickey Genba, I'll get Newbie to come in so Dreddy can ban him. Good plan. I'm supportive of this course of action. So let's see, what else have I got to talk about? Yes. There's been a lot of talk recently. There were a couple of shows people did giving out tips on running YouTube channels. And I thought maybe I should dispense a few tips of my own, because someone actually asked me the other day if I had any advice on how to grow their YouTube channel. Because obviously with my millions of subscribers and hundreds of live viewers on all my broadcasts, then I'm in a prime position to offer advice. So first of all, any tips I give out here, if you don't care about building an audience, then they don't apply to you. I'm not going to tell someone how to run their channel, because there are some channels that don't follow any of these rules at all and they're still entertaining. There are some rules to building a bigger channel that I intentionally don't follow because it's just not in my nature, it's not my style. So first and foremost, you have to be yourself. And for some people, being themselves is a surefire way to not get subscribers, because some people are just not very exciting to listen to. Some people might not think I'm exciting to listen to. Some people just aren't overflowing charisma fountains. Some people are actually charisma vacuums, and some of them have YouTube channels. Some of them actually do well because they provide valuable information or they cover something that a lot of people want to see. For example, if I were to set up a Pokemon Go YouTube channel, even though I don't know anything about it, and I was walking around the street catching Pokemon, I'm sure that would get vastly more views than this wargaming channel. It would probably overtake the subscriber count within 3 days. So there are certain things you can cover that are guaranteed to be a success. Like in the old days, it used to be, oh, you want to get subscribers? Make Minecraft videos. It was the lowest common denominator. There was just a huge audience for it, and it didn't matter how terrible you were, people would still watch it. Now I'm sure Pokemon has overtaken that. If you've got a pet and you take video of them doing mundane things and uploading it, people are going to watch it. No effort, no skill, but people are still going to watch it. So the amount of subscribers you have is not necessarily a good indicator of how talented you are or how entertaining your content is. Sometimes it's just a matter of if you aim for the low-hanging fruit. So as far as actually making your videos better, the number one tip I would give to anyone, if you want to build an audience, do not do car vlogs. That would be the number one thing for me. Maybe some people love watching people in their cars. I do not. It's noisy, and it gives the impression that you don't have the inclination to put time and effort into making videos, but you have half an hour to kill on a car journey. So you're just going to point a camera at yourself and talk while in your car. Not good viewing, if you ask me. Dreddy says, do shower vlogs. Shower vlogs would bring in the numbers, definitely. No matter who you are or what you look like, there is going to be a section of society that would be happy to watch shower vlogs of anybody. Wasgob cat videos. Yes, cat videos are the way to go. Mickey Jen, but Rem is going to start shower vlogs. He may do. I'm sure you'd be his number one subscriber. Wasgob, car vlogs noisy? Not if the engine is off. Well, if you're doing a video in your car while the engine's off, that's one thing. But while driving along, it's bumpy, it's noisy. It gives the impression that you don't care that much about your channel because you're just kind of killing time making the video. So I would say it's not a good way to build an audience. Can someone still be entertaining while in their car? Yes. Do you have to work harder to be entertaining? Probably. You also have to know what you're good at. If you are incredibly charismatic, then just talking to the camera is going to draw people in, and that's probably going to be enough. If you're not, but you're good at dispensing information, then that's what you need to do. You need to stick to what you know. If you're really good at dispensing info on a topic you're very knowledgeable about, then do that. Don't stray too far from your comfort zone to try and attract viewers by maybe being silly if it's not in your nature. Sebastian Blau, extra cats, extra subscribers. Yes. Retropia TV, what about doing vlogs live from an orange van with a huge piece of Duardin art on the side? That would possibly attract views. If you've got a specific vehicle that's designed for YouTubing, then yes. Wasgob, I'm sub to a channel where the vlogs are done in a car whilst on the drive. Yes, there are a lot of people that do it, and some of them get subscribers. But I think if they were doing videos in the more traditional style, I think they would probably do even better. Unless there's something hilarious about watching them in a car. Like if it's someone that suffers from serious road rage, then I can understand wanting to watch that because it would be funny. But if you're talking about something totally unrelated, I think a car definitely hinders the viewership and the appeal of your video. Let's see, what else? And you have to decide if your channel is going to be a personality channel or a content channel. Are you going to draw people in with what you're covering or who you are? And where on this scale are you going to draw your little dot? If you have personality at one end and content on the other, where are you going to fit? If you're entirely personality, then it doesn't matter what you talk about. If you're entirely content, then when you start straying into other realms of content, you may start losing your audience. Even if you're not all the way at the content end, then you can still suffer from that. If you cover a variety of different topics, like I do, for example, because until recently, about 75% of the videos on this channel were Age of Sigmar. And because I do videos on other games as well, like I'll do Kings of War battle reports and videos like this and other funny videos, then I'll get quite a high subscriber turnover rate. I'll get a lot of new subscribers, but some of them, as soon as they see what the channel actually is, they'll unsubscribe immediately, because there's a certain portion of people that subscribe just because they think it's an Age of Sigmar channel. And as soon as they see another video, they think, oh, I don't want that clogging up my feed. I just want Age of Sigmar videos, mate. Then they immediately unsub. So if you only stick to one system, even if you find that boring, that would be one way to guarantee that you're going to get a certain number of subscribers sticking around if you never, ever change up your content at all. But that would bore me to death, honestly, if I was only doing one thing. If I was only playing one game system, I would probably just die from boredom. Let's see. Grave Danger, a project diary type thing on YouTube. Yeah, project diaries, that's something that a lot of people do. They'll keep you up to date with what they're working on. And usually there isn't a lot of editing that goes into those things. So again, by doing zero editing, you are increasing your output probably, but you're limiting your audience. And now there are some channels that are really huge that do absolutely zero editing at all, but still get huge because people like their personality or the thing they're talking about. You just don't need it to be well edited. There are certain types of videos, if you just plonk a camera in front of you and talk, and that's your whole gimmick, then it doesn't need to have quality editing. People are probably still going to watch. If you're doing battle reports and they're poorly edited, that's immediately going to put people off. What I hate the most, people who do still image battle reports, but they have it so that the picture slowly zooms in or out because they think, well, I can't have a still image. People are just unsubscribe because it's so boring. But when it just slowly zooms in or out, it gives me such a terrible headache. I can't look at it. And between you and me, I don't really watch anyone else's battle reports, unless it's someone I watch every minute of content from regardless. So there are some channels where I just think the people are entertaining, so I'll watch whatever they do. But I don't watch any battle report channels because I just don't find them entertaining. That's why I do my battle reports differently from everyone else, because I think the way most people do it just isn't that fun. So I try to add a lot of comedy into mine, especially the Age of Sigmar ones where I'll do the silly character voices, and even the slightly more serious ones like Kings of War, where I'm taking it a bit more serious and tactical. I'll still add in a funny little backstory to the game as well at the start. And then the way I'm describing the action, I'll throw in subtle little innuendo and things like that that people might pick up on, but they might not. So it's very, very light-hearted. But most people don't do that. Let's see. Retropia TV, your still image bat rip at Warhammer World was a great example of an amazing bat rip video. It turned out great. Yes, there is a way to do still image battle reports. You have to be engaging to the audience, though. You can't just, in a monotone voice, go through the images and say, then this unit walked up across the battlefield and did 4 wounds on that unit, and then this unit moved over there and did this, and then this wizard cast spell X at that. People don't want to be just reading your notes, essentially, of the battle. They want you to be weaving a little narrative for them. Dreddy says 100% Dragon Strike channel. That would be a surefire hit. Let's see. Oh, we've also got the Wargamer Viking in here as well. Greeted by Wasgob right there. So the next element of this is making the YouTube channel into a money-making venture. Because what I've seen, obviously I've been making YouTube videos for a long time, wargaming videos for quite a few years. Occasionally someone will pop up who is clearly there to try and make money out of YouTube. And the first thing they do is basically ask you for money. And their content is probably quite well made. So they probably rocket up past me in subscribers. And then once they realize that the money isn't that great, even if you're successful. You have to be really, really in the top 0.0001% of YouTube to be making anything close to a living. Once they realize they're not going to achieve that, they kind of disappear and just completely stop making videos. And I think, well, why did all those thousands of people subscribe to them when they were just kind of a fly-by-night operation and not me? But you can't compare yourself to other channels because you'll drive yourself nuts. Because some people come along and there's certain tricks you can follow if you want to guarantee that you'll gain subscribers. If you want to basically, it's not exactly selling out, but there's certain things you can do. Like you can give your channel a really kind of pretentious generic name. Like if I called myself just like the tabletop wargaming guy, as if to say I am the guy for tabletop wargaming. Names like that do attract more attention and a bigger audience, and people think, oh, he's the tabletop wargaming guy, I must be missing out on something, subscribe. Whereas they just say, oh, it's just a guy named Andy. I'm sure you know what I mean. You've seen lots of channels with those kind of names, and they usually do quite well if they've got any kind of quality content. Another thing, if you have kind of money in the bank content, for example, painting tutorials. If you do painting tutorials on either the latest hot thing, because if you think about it, what do you search for on YouTube to find new channels? You're not really looking for a new channel, you're looking for a specific video. If you're painting a space marine and you type in how to paint a space marine, that's what you type if you're looking for how to paint a space marine, obviously. So if someone's made a video called how to paint a space marine, you're going to find it, you're going to watch it, it's going to get thousands and thousands of views. You might not care about the person making the video, you might not find them entertaining, but you want that information. So you're probably going to subscribe to them. And even if you don't, that one video is going to get tons of views. So I call videos like that money in the bank, where for years to come, that video is going to keep racking up views and hits and subscribers. I've got a few videos like that. If you make a video on a current, let's say, army book or codex or something, that's guaranteed to get you a certain amount of attention, no matter how terrible your video is. But after a while, of course, those things will dry up because people will move on to the next edition of the book. But with painting tutorials, that's just the really solid, reliable content that's going to keep piling up the views as time goes on. Battle reports, it depends on the game system. If you do 40k battle reports and you do them well, obviously the ceiling of audience is much higher than if you're doing, let's say, Age of Sigmar, which is lower, and then lower still you've got your Kings of War and Bolt Action and Malifaux and things like that, that just have a smaller player base and smaller amount of exposure because they're smaller companies and smaller gaming communities. So battle reports are a big way to get people into your channel. Painting tutorials, definitely. Unboxings are a mixed bag. If you can try and put yourself across as an authority, like I am the guy you need to watch if you want something unboxed. If you want to see what's in that box, I am the guy. If you make that your thing, then you can do really well. But there are so many people unboxing things that aren't at all entertaining, don't give you any real information on the product, that the market is kind of flooded with those. You have to make yourself stand out by being the unboxing guy, or give yourself some kind of exciting gimmick along with it. Like, I'm going to be the unboxing guy that gets really overexcited and throws things around the room. You do that, maybe you'll get some attention. If you're just saying, on this sprue we seem to have a gun, and on this sprue we have a horse. Well, wasn't that a lovely product? See you next time. Then it's not really going to get you the attention that you're looking for. Let's see if anyone's commented on any of these things in the old comments there. It seems like people are just talking to each other. Let's see. Mickey Jen, but Uncle Atom has 25,000 subscribers, and he says he doesn't make much off it. Yes. Having a lot of subscribers, getting a lot of views, doesn't guarantee that you're going to be making any money. My channel, I've got over 400 videos. I have a video once per week, at least, that gets 1,000 views. Others that get a few hundred. And then I've got some, like in the region of 10,000 or above, some of the videos that did better. And I think I have received YouTube payments. It waits till it gets to $100 before it pays you anything. And I've had this channel. It also goes back to my previous channel as well, which was also tied into the same Google AdSense account. And I've only received, I think, 3 payments. So it would have been about £60 for each one. And that's over the course of over 5 years. That's probably not even like a week's wages for anybody. So it's definitely not a way to make money. Although once I went to the old Patreon for the Age of Sigmar battle reports, that obviously yields a substantially higher rate if people have enough of an interest in your content. Because there are a zillion people on Patreon these days, and you really have to stand out and explain to people why you're on Patreon. If they don't understand why you need the money, they're not going to give it to you, unless they just really, really love you for some reason. Like the reason I set one up was because, well, it was kind of 2 reasons. One, there were, I think it was 2 people, might have been 3, that were telling me, I want you to be using certain models in games, but obviously you can't afford them. Can I send you some money so you can buy them? And obviously that gives you the idea that, well, maybe I should just set up some kind of platform so people can just do that without having to like privately message me. And then also with the Age of Sigmar battle reports, Mr. Remington lives far away. It takes him about 3 hours to get here sometimes. Or if we do it Warhammer World, it takes me about 3 hours to get there. So obviously there's travel expenses involved in that. And obviously I'm not loaded with cash because my A-list game design career has only just stepped onto the first rung of the ladder. So it does help getting that amount of money. It's not a huge amount, but it covers the travel expenses. And then there's a bit left over as well. And that goes to the various new terrain pieces that go into the battle reports and so on. I don't think I would do a Patreon just for the channel in general, because there is a very specific goal with the Age of Sigmar battle report Patreon, which is covering the travel, getting these games done. It takes a long time to edit them because I put more effort into those battle reports than any other videos, because there's so many tiny little edits, putting the voiceovers on the characters, chopping up hundreds of times into the video files, making each one fade. I think just doing that takes hours. The longest video editing I had for a battle report was probably about 10 hours. And that was fairly solid as well for 10 hours. So if you think about how much minimum wage would be for 10 hours, then it's earning less than minimum wage to do it. Demolitia13, I wish you did more battle reports, to be honest. They are very funny. Yeah, I do a battle report basically every game I play, apart from a game I'm just getting into, like Dead Zone, where I don't feel qualified to do a battle report yet. But every game I play is turned into a battle report, virtually. And I would like to do more, but it's a very, very long editing process and finding the right people to play against as well. Some people don't like being on video. There are a couple of people who I play against that don't like to have the games videoed. Let's see, Sebastian Blau, I would not mind a painting tutorial or 2. I'm actually thinking about doing some, not exactly painting tutorials, because I'm not a painting expert. I can't really tell you how to paint a complete model from start to finish. But what I can do, I can give you tips on a particular technique that I've discovered that maybe you weren't using before. Something that might be obvious to people who are professional, but something I've kind of stumbled across on my own and find it very, very useful. And I might be able to help a couple of people with it. So I might start doing kind of hobby tips like that. Because see other people, they'll put up a video and the content of it will seem so obvious to me. I think, well, why have you made a video on that? Surely everyone already knows about tip A. They already know that you're supposed to do this to get that effect on a miniature. And then people will be commenting on it with like, oh my God, this was so useful. You've changed my life, and it'll be getting 50,000 views. And I'll think, well, why didn't I just do that video instead of letting this person do it first? So I might actually start doing that, doing some hobby tip videos. I wonder if everyone has seen my clickbait wargamer video that I did the other day. That was kind of an experiment, because I did the previous episode of this show, actually, I discussed in great length with Driddy the price of the new Horus Heresy miniatures that came out compared to the boxed game. And it was in the title, like Horus Heresy miniature pricing. It was in the title of the video. It wasn't really in the thumbnail though. And that whole episode has got like just over 200 views over the course of a week. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a video. I'll just put a silly voice on, call it the Clickbait Wargamer, and give it a really provocative title, like Horus Heresy Scam. Games Workshop Horus Heresy Scam, and see if it attracts people. And the thumbnail is just like shocked people, like to see if it does make such a huge difference. People are just going to fall for the old clickbait. And it's even got the Clickbait Wargamer all over the video. And that is up to about 900 views already. So obviously it works, and the video is not getting disliked. I think people appreciate the humor and where I'm coming from with it. I think it's got about 70 odd likes on it, which is more than most of my videos get. Usually they get about between 50 and 60, but people found that funny. So I think I'll do more of those, because not only do I get to make fun of clickbait, I also get to use clickbait and hide behind the shield of it's just me making fun of clickbait, even though I've gained 10 subscribers from it and I've got 1,000 views, but I was just making fun of it, so it's okay, I'm allowed to do it. So I think that would be quite fun. And they were easy to do as well. It only took me about half an hour editing to do that. And all those views it got. There are battle reports that have taken me 6 hours that don't get views that quickly. So yeah. Let's see what else. Right, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about on this episode. Although we have got a comment here. Majestic Feat, time to bribe Halfling Pete into playing Kings of War. Well, he is up for playing it sometime, but unfortunately, I may have mentioned before, but Halfling Pete is a doctor. And as you, if you've been following the news in this country, you may know that doctors are overworked and underpaid. So especially the overworked part. So he doesn't really get a lot of time. So it's very, very difficult to wrangle him into playing anything because he's so incredibly busy working. But I am going to try and get him to play Kings of War with his halflings at some point. Let's see. Sebastian Blau. I like Vince Ventrella's hobby cheating series. Not all of them, but some of them are really interesting. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking, where I've just got a tip that I want to dispense and share with the world that might be unique. You might know about it already, but it might help some people because I find it useful. Just some little trick, because we all have little hobby tricks that we do. I'm going to give you an example. On the Mr. Uncle Atom of Tabletop Minions, he did a video where he's got slaughter bases and he wanted to cover the hole. So he took a little piece of foil from a chocolate bar or something and covered the hole with it and super glued it down. And that got a lot of views. And I thought, why didn't I do that? I do that exact thing, but with bits of paper. And what I do, I use a little bit of paper and then use this kind of really runny super glue and just drip it over it and kind of dab it down with a stick. And it dries really, really solid and it's difficult to poke through. So I thought, well, why haven't I done a video on that yet? I just thought it was so obvious. Surely everyone has their own way of dealing with that. But obviously people like watching things like that. And they find the tips very useful. So I think I'm going to do a series like that at some point. I want to get quite a few of them filmed before I put it out, though. I don't want to fall into the trap of doing one episode and then not being inspired for a few weeks and then leaving it. If I'm going to do a series, I want it to be a regular thing. So I'd want to get maybe 5 of them filmed before I start churning them out. I think that would be good. Let's see. Demolisher 13. Sarcasm is a good format. Can always use more humor in the wargaming community. Yes, actually, when I started in the wargaming community, I was 100% humor. Everything I did was comedy. But then I found that no one actually searches YouTube for wargaming comedy. Oddly enough, people search for how to paint a Space Marine or 40k battle report or how to play X game or Y game, which is why my How to Play Dreadball series actually did quite well. It's just a thing people search for. But people don't generally search for comedy. If you can make it kind of go wargaming viral, which is difficult because it's a small community, so going viral doesn't mean the same thing as it would do for a grumpy cat video. But like the Betrayed Wargamer comedy, someone being angry about Age of Sigmar, that was the hot thing at that time. So that did quite well. I think that's my most viewed video, episode 1 of that. I think it's about 13,000 views. So if you can tie your comedy in with something that's relevant and a hot topic to get people to search for it that way, then yes. And the Clickbait Wargamer is definitely a step in that direction. Joe White, I'm new to the hobby, so I watch just about anything on the hobby. Yeah, that's another thing to consider as well. A lot of people are new. A lot of people do come into the hobby and don't really have the base of knowledge that I assume everyone does just because I've been painting for so long. So even though my techniques aren't very advanced, maybe there are some people that could learn from them. So I would definitely consider making some videos on that. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If anyone wants to drop any last second comments in, then feel free. But thanks for joining me, everybody. I'm going to try and do one solo show at least per month. I don't want to do it every week. I like to have guests because I want to build up a number of talking points that I can actually cover on the show to fill over an hour of just chatting myself into the camera. Let's see, Retropy TV, your video wave threatened GW was the first video of yours that I saw which led to this Andy 2D6 obsession. Yes, that was quite a fun one. Also, spamming social media with your videos. You have to know where to draw the line, though. Spam it, yes, but not just willy-nilly. You have to strategically spam. You have to know where to spam. You have to know how much to do it so that you're not just annoying people. Because if you're annoying people, they'll come in, dislike the video, and then won't even watch it. So, yeah. Demolitia 13 missed the Titans, though. I'm assuming that means you missed the start of the show. Well, you can go back and watch it again. And then you can watch the whole show multiple times, and every time you reload the page, keep clicking on all the adverts and going to those websites that come up and buy things from it. I don't even know what kind of adverts pop up on my videos, because obviously I don't watch them myself, so I don't see them. Probably something very, very relevant, like shopping or something. Okay, so time to wrap this one up. So let's get on the screen share and look at this beautiful piece of Photoshop wizardry again. Imperator Titan, you can't beat it. I never owned the Warlord Titan, so maybe that'll be next for me. Maybe I'll get a Warlord Titan if they're in Adeptus Titanicus. Anyway, folks, I shall see many of you on the Andy and Rome show on Tuesday night. I may have another video up before then. If not, I'll see you next Friday for the next thrilling edition of 2D6 Friday, where another plethora of delicious topics will be delved into. Fangs first, the sumptuous wargaming juices will run down all our chins together, and it'll be a thoroughly good time for all. Good night out there, whatever you are. I've got balls of steel.